The third worksheet that we're going to look at is the visitor data file that's on the bottom of page 10 of your pivot table lesson. So if we look at the visitor data, you'll notice that it has 5 different field names. It has region, it has store, day, week, and then visitors. So let's go ahead and also too, just to minimize the extra blank cells that could possibly be after your data set, let's just go ahead and select the actual data itself, which goes from A1 to E281. Then we'll go to Insert Pivot Table. And let's go ahead and let's say we want to get a feel for the number of visitors that we see in our different regions based off of days of the week. So let's go ahead and select region, select day, and select visitors. So right now, once again, a lot of things show up in row. Initially, we have region, we have day, and then we have sum of visitors. And we want to ask ourselves with our numerical value if that's correct. We want to add together the number of visitors based off of each individual day. And yes, that is the way we want to look at it. What we could do is then look at our pivot table results and say, is that how we want to look at our data? And that's a good way to, I mean, it's not a bad way to look at it. We see the region, then we see our various days. What you want to think about if you're only looking at 2 different types of fields and you want to see how they relate to one another, sometimes it's easier to go ahead and to drag one of them over into your columns so that you can very easily see sort of a side-by-side comparison. So now I can see all of the different regions and I can see their dollars or their sum of visitors for the Sunday, for the day of Sunday versus Monday versus Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then a total for each of the different regions. So it's a couple things I guess jump off the page on this pivot table is that it would allow us to see which regions have the most number of visitors, which would be south, the region that has the least number of visitors, which is our north, and then also too which days are most popular. So it looks like Saturdays and Sundays we have the most significant amount of visitors. Additionally, if you were asking such questions as, does it make sense for, or if you're, this business was trying to figure out exactly which day they should close, they're open 7 days a week right now. If they were to close, which day would make sense, and we would go off based off of the smallest or the minimum value in each of them, which looks to be for the day of Wednesday. So if you were to make a recommendation, you have the least number of visitors, there'd be the least impact for the organization if they closed on Wednesday. Let's say you wanted to look at this data and you wanted to look at it a little bit differently. There is potential for us to group different criteria into a larger or into a category. So let's say, for example, we wanted to break down and look at this table, not in days of the week, but weekdays versus weekend. So what we can do is go ahead and select all of the days, and you're going to hold down your control button as you're doing this. So I'm going to select Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now what I'm going to do, if I go ahead and I right click, you'll notice it gives me an option to group. Grouping allows me to put all of these 5 different values for day and also just to put them together in one. So you'll notice it created a group. It gives me the option to go ahead and to name it. So I'm going to go up into my toolbar and I'm going to name it weekdays. And then it gives me an option to expand and collapse if I want to show it at the summary level. I could do the same thing for my Saturday and my Sunday. So notice that they're in 2 different cells. Once again, you're going to press the Sunday. You're also going to hold down your control and then press Saturday. I'm going to right click, go to group. And now I see I have group 2. I'm going to go up into my toolbar. I'm going to rename this weekend. Oops. And now I get a feel for it and I could expand this as well. So if I want to look at, what is the number of visitors from weekend to weekday, I can see it very easily, very clearly. If I'm not happy with the groupings, I can easily remove them. So if you go to ungroup, you'll notice it'll take them off. Same thing, so you go over to weekday, you click ungroup, it'll get you back to the original data set in the original order. So as I'm grouping things, it may move things from one position to the next, but that's just the way in which it works. Grouping also works for dates, and Excel will recognize them as dates, so you can potentially summarize things in terms of week, month, quarter, or year. So it gives you different options. That allows you to kind of summarize your data, especially if you have transaction level data. You can summarize totals and get to the sum of types of transactions that you see in a particular time period based off of the different fields that you choose. Let's say, for example, we wanted to not only include region, but now we're going to also populate store, and we want to get a feel for the store and see, is one store performing better than another. I'm gonna now, because it's kind of expanded beyond what I would like to see, as I'm going to remove some stuff. And notice that our store by default just went down into our values, and that's because our store is a number, although it is not something that would be used in calculation. It's more of a primary key. So we're going to move that because that's not ideal. Let's go ahead and we're going to move our store number beneath our region, so that will allow us to sort of see which stores roll up into each region and sort of figure out how is the performance of each individual store compared to its peers in that same location or same relative location. So we see East has 3 different stores included in it, and we could see that it looks like there's pretty consistent performance for the most part from all 3 of those. North has 2, and we see looks like they have pretty equal performance as well. For South, we have our 3 different stores. Once again, we see pretty consistent performance. They have this pretty close to the same total. Same thing for our West. We have 2. Once again, pretty consistent performance across. So if you wanted to get a feel for, the actual locations more so, the stores themselves in the particular regions, that would be very useful to get a feel for. You might also want to include, we only have one other field, right? We have a week field. Once again, by default, because it's a numerical value, Excel is going to pull it into this values field. It's not anything we want to sum, so we're going to go ahead and drag it. We're going to put it above our day. So we have week, and then we also have the day of the week. So you notice we have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Okay, so we have 4 different weeks that we're seeing in this particular time frame. So if we can expand and collapse them and then sort of see the breakdown associated with it. So and you can play with this too to find out if it makes more sense to put, let's say if we were to switch these and put the day first and then the week. Okay, so we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we see our totals for Sunday. We see 1, 2, 3, 4 totals for Monday. So if you're looking for patterns or seasonality associated with it, this might be a better way to look at the data to get a better feel. Although it makes your table much more significant in terms of size, it might be a better side-by-side comparison. So like I said, there's a lot of manipulation that has to happen with these pivot tables to sort of play with your data to get it into a format that's usable and easy to read, and allows you to identify what is going on in a particular situation. So here, we only have 5 different fields, so we can, get a feel for the data and really the performance associated with the various stores and regions.